Hey Sarah, how you doing?
Hi, does anybody hear me?
Yeah, Lee, how you doing, sir? I'm just letting
Good.
everybody in now.
Who are we talking to?
This is Duncan.
Sure, can you hear me?
Okay.
I'm at the top.
Okay, no, you're in the middle for me.
I'm in the middle. Okay. So,
You've got to let me have screen sharing.
yes, sir, I will do so. Just let me get these last ones in here. Um,
And I need to be a co-host as well.
yeah, getting there, getting there.
And did you get
And
my email? I sent you an email earlier. Did you get it?
I think I got two.
Okay. I responded to the last one that you sent like 6:40 or something like that.
Okay.
Now we're going to have a general session stuff and then I'll
Yeah.
take over in
So
a half
I'm
hour
gonna
or
make a
so.
yeah, I'm gonna make a couple announcements. Then vendor VIP is going to Sarah's going to do her market update. Vendor VIP is
Okay.
going to talk, and then
I
you should go on about 7:30. And then the majority of the people should be in by that time. We had a lot of signups. Um, so I think at that time I'm going to make you the host, and then you'll have full because you have co-hosts now. So once I turn off my screen share, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay.
Should be good to go. So hello, everybody. We will be starting in a few minutes. You're in the right place at the right time. Thank you for joining us tonight. We just got a couple minutes to go. We got still people piling in. Oh, there you go.
So,
Awesome. I can see yours very easily.
You get my message.
Hold on, Sarah. Let me just take a look here. Kelly's having trouble logging in.
Okay.
Don't know why. I got your meeting.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to allow vendor VIP to do more time.
Okay.
Maybe, Sarah, I can just ask you a few questions to go over what you're seeing this month
Yeah, that's
without.
fine.
All right, super.
Yep.
All right. Yep, got it. Okay, let me go back to my screen here. Um, stop that. Go back to here. Share this. Okay. Okay, I got your message. Yeah. All right, super. All right, guys, welcome. Just a couple more minutes. You're in the right place at the right time. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee while you guys are all piling in. Sarah, will you let people in as they come on? Just grab my coffee now.
Absolutely.
All
Go
right.
for it.
Too much coffee. Right. I'm actually in Seattle right now, going on the REIA cruise tomorrow. So checked in early, get the meeting done. So I'm 3 hours behind you.
Mhm.
All right, let's just get this thing out another minute. All right, one more minute and we'll get kicked off.
when does the REIA cruise go?
We're doing the Alaska cruise this year, so it's nice to have it back because I didn't have it for, gosh, I think 4 years now.
When does
So
it start?
tomorrow at 1 o'clock,
Okay.
and it gets back on the 15th. They're going to have another one in February to the Caribbean. So I guess they're catching up by doing two a year now. So,
Okay.
What, I mean, we were on the Caribbean cruise, weren't we, Lee? The last time I think I saw you on a cruise with your
I
wife.
think it may be.
Yeah,
That was a long time ago.
it was. It was a very long time ago.
Yep, I
But
think Christy was there.
yeah, he was there. We were in the car going around the island together.
Yep, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. So Kelly's having trouble getting on right now.
I'm
Uh,
on now. I'm on
oh,
now.
yeah. Okay.
You
Hi,
you
Lee.
might remember that hi Kelly. You might remember that Christy died. I don't know if you knew that or not. but
No, I didn't know that.
yep, she died.
I
Four-
knew
I'm
on
sorry.
Facebook.
4 years
I'm so
ago
sorry, Lee.
Saturday.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Lee. I did not know at all.
Yep, we made it 64 years. That's not, or 50. Yes,
Oh,
46 years. 46 years we made it.
wow. Well,
I'm not that old.
congratulations. Wow. All right. So on that note, I'm going to kick off the meeting. Welcome, everybody. This is our September meeting. I'm very excited to host this meeting tonight. I'm going to learn a lot of information. So I just want to go over some announcements first before we do. And let's just kick off. So if you are a first timer, we do want to welcome you, and our members. Thank you for coming back. We have a lot of member benefits to discuss tonight, and guests, you're going to see the benefit of being part of the REIA. I do want to start before we giving our liability disclosure before we get into it, is that the Boston REIA assumes no liability or responsibility for the outcome of any real estate transaction, decision, or any other action by any Boston REIA member or visitor as a result of attending this meeting, listening to any guest speaker, or talking to any Boston member, guest, or visitor, or persons. Now that we got that out of the way, we can get the fun going. Oops, a little too fast. All right. If you're with us for the first time, we are the most active real estate investing community in New England. We have a lot of deal flow going on. We have a lot of networking. We always are providing education and resources for investors. We are the 5th largest REIA in the country, and we are part of the National Real Estate Investors Association, which is the largest trade association in the United States. And we have some fantastic benefits for our vendors in regards to discounts, cashback, and education for them. And we will be going over a new benefit we're launching tonight. So I want to talk to Sarah. Sarah is our investor-friendly realtor. And just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Boston from what she's seeing as an agent. So Sarah, welcome.
Hi, Duncan. Yes,
Hi.
it's exciting. So,
Yeah.
over the past, I try to do it like 4 weeks because that's when we meet. So interest rates have been going up, 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 and then they finally started to go down, which is excellent because that's, was a scary thing. So things are kind of like more kind of on the affordable side now. Inventory continue to be like really, really low.
Okay.
But that being said, we're still seeing some houses sit on the market. But again,
So
like,
for the houses that are sitting on the market, what would you feel those reasons are? Are they still overpriced or in a price range that is above most people?
I think it could be one of the reasons that we see is overpriced for sure, but also I've seen people now are being even more pickier. So, like you have a condo just stack up like two stair flights, people don't want it because they think it's, the stairs is a problem. We didn't have that, we didn't have that when interests were like really low and, everybody were like fighting over it. Now people are kind of like more picky.
All right.
Even if nothing else would be like wrong with it per se.
With that said, you're still getting a lot of multiple offers.
If a property that's like really checks all the boxes and all that, yes, you get multiple offers, but not as crazy as it was during pandemic, like not 27 and 40 offers and stuff like that. But you might get 5, 6, yes. And they all decent and they're all over asking.
And would you say that you're seeing a lot of offers still all being cash?
Actually, there are a lot of people that have a lot of cash, currently working with buyers like in over $1 million right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm
there is
seeing the
no
exact
problem
same
there.
thing. And I'm seeing offers that are being accepted that are with no contingencies,
Yeah.
actually no inspections or a very short period of time. I'm seeing cash offers all across the board, seeing multiple offers. And yeah, I think the buyers are becoming, I'm sorry, the sellers are also becoming a little bit more picky. That being said, what we're seeing actually say in South Carolina is pretty much every house is getting asking price, if not 1% lower. I am seeing that sellers are putting in higher penalties if they do cancel.
Yeah.
So, just make sure the deal doesn't fall apart and make sure they have good qualified buyers. So,
Cash offer here in Mass, you can say about 30%.
okay.
So you can either like have all cash or just have like a lot to put up front, more than the typical 20% per se,
Yeah.
just put it that way. So yes.
Awesome. So, are you finding investors mostly putting up still 30% to get into deals?
Actually, they're looking for more than that. They're
Wow.
like, yeah, so 70 is not as sexy anymore. They're looking for more than that.
Wow.
60 or yeah.
Awesome.
But
So,
you
well, I
know,
guess it
but there
means,
are deals. Like I have investors like they always have like 3, 4 deals going on at the same time.
yeah.
So, which is excellent, right? So I think if you just put in the work and the time and the effort and the investment up front, you'll just, it will pay off.
Okay. Well, the reason being for my questions to the group tonight is just to show you it is still possible in your market to do deals. There are plenty of buyers, and what's more, there's plenty of money out there to do deals. So please don't let that be a roadblock in your mind to being successful in your own area. So Tara, thank you for that. I do want to bring up a lot of our money lenders that are out there. If you look in our members section in our resources, we have all different type of money lenders to provide to you, from hard money to transactional funding to private money to banks that are offering investors, good service and rates. So please look inside our resource section as a member and utilize those, because these have been vetted. They want to work with investors and they're there for you. Matter of fact, do we have any of our private money or any of our money lenders on the call tonight? All right, we don't. So I'm just going to say they're there in the back. If you need proof of funds, the best site to get to, if you just want to start playing, and making sure, because all realtors want to be pre-qualified now, go get a proof of funds from quickturnmoney.com. You'll easily get a $500,000 letter just stating, so you can play basically to go out there and start looking at deals and working with agents. All right, we do have a networking meeting, and that is in the South Shore. It's the first Monday of every month. Coming up is Carla. Are you on tonight? Okay, Carla's not here. She runs that meeting down the South Shore. We are looking at starting some other smaller networking groups closer to town. But if you want to get involved with networking on a personal meet and greet person, and have a beer at the same time, down the South Shore at the Stellwagen Beer Company, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. All right. This is our newest REIA benefit. I want to make sure David Pickering, he better be here tonight. He's going on the REIA cruise tomorrow. Dave, are you here with us? Oh my goodness gracious. Dave's he's still on a place. But what vendor VIP is, it's sort of going to be what is the Angie's List and more for real estate investors and the vendors that will give you discounts and will have a quality of service guarantee, should you call it. They'll have a background check on them, and go through a vetting process to make sure they get on this list. It's going to launch, actually, it's just launched here in September. And what this does now, the first couple months, this is totally free to get on the list and go through the process. After that, we will start charging, if you want to advertise your business. But if you know a vendor or you want to be on that list yourself, please look up Vendor VIP. So if you have something to offer in regards to a product or a service, please put yourself in there. And this is a very good one. I just want to give one more shout out to Dave Pickron, if he is here. Dave, are you with me? Nope. Okay, guys. So you will see this in the front end of our website also, because eventually we'll roll this out to non-members. Remember, the Boston Real Estate Investors Association has almost 5,000 members between its active members, membership list, and our mailing list. So even if you want to get in front of them in some way, this might be your chance to do that. And while I'm on the subject of networking, the chat bar in the right-hand side of the presentation, please make use of that. By the end of the meeting, make sure you copy and paste that entire section for you, because I want people to start writing what they have, what they need or want, and they can offer to the group. So if you have money, or you're looking for a house, you're looking for a deal, you have a deal, please use that chat session to get in there and spread the word, especially if you can't make the in-person meeting. That networking session, you can write back and forth, and then just keep that. I do not send that out after the meeting. That is a benefit of showing up. So let's just move on. All right. We do have a membership. I just want to go through very briefly. The benefit to the membership is huge. It pays for itself many times over if you use the tools, the resources that we have for you. When we have monthly meetings in person, you'll get free access to those, free access to subgroups. We have a Home Depot rebate program, which is 2% cash back. We have huge discounts, customized pricing for the REIA using the Pro Loyalty Desk. We have so many benefits, and I'll show you that on the next slide. But it's just a no-brainer to get involved. Besides, it's a tax write-off. And if you really want to be a player and have that back-end credibility to go out in confidence and have a team backing you, getting your membership is very important. So this is just some of the stuff that we have for you in the back at discounts and cash back. So I invite you to take a look at our benefits. We have new benefits throughout the year. It's $280 for a single membership, $400 for a couples membership. That's two people, be it contractor, partner, husband, wife, or any way you can make it up. $400 for two people, 280 years per single. You can text Kelly at 864-906-411. There she is on the screen, just waved hi, and just tell her, hey, you're interested in finding out more, and she can process your membership fee. And then Sarah will contact you in regards to getting you set up with Home Depot discounts. I'll reach out to you, make sure you have access to the members back end, and you'll be on our special list to find out all the goodies about that. So that is the price. It's a deal. It's a tax write-off, and we'll get you all those benefits and discounts. So just very briefly, I'm going to look into the chat, and hopefully by now you've written some have, needs, and wants there. If you haven't, you just see everyone in meeting. Okay, guys, take a moment. And if you want to talk to the group, just raise your hand and I will unmute you, and you'll get 1 minute to say, what you want to the group. So let's go. All right. Sarah, why don't you tell them about your investor-friendly realtor service to pick off then?
Absolutely. So I am an investor friendly realtor. Uh, you know, realtors, I gained a lot of experience just working in that niche, licensed in Mass and New Hampshire, the residential and commercial. I'm not as savvy as the investors themselves, but I have helped a ton of investors to, get started and be on their way. Uh, and I can leave my info in the chat. You can reach me. You can browse my website and give me a buzz.
So let me ask you a question. And when you deal with an investor-friendly realtor, there's another level of service to that. I know, service is service as an agent, but an investor-friendly realtor usually is open to presenting creative offers and
Yes,
sometimes making lower offers or an offer that is just not normally submitted. Can you say anything about that?
absolutely, absolutely. And that's, and that's also what differentiates me from other realtors because, it's all about the deal. The deal is where the money is. So, and it's all also in the buy. So if you buy right, then you make your money. And it's my job is to just make it creative, run the numbers for them in a timely manner because, even though with the market, right now, but it is like it's a race to the deal. So and you need to kind of like, beat everyone else to the punch basically. So so that's and I come across a lot of off-market deals as well. And I send them first to my people.
All right. So you will gladly set up alerts for people matching their criteria and always in contact for these off-market deals, which
Yeah.
I'm also seeing realtors, want to get these things, sold very quickly. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to, James said he's looking for knowledge, network, and deals. So we're here for the knowledge. James, you have the section to network. And of course, now we've given you access to, some deals. So we definitely have that for you. Let me just see what else is going on here in the chat. Uh, Okay, everybody's kind of shy, guys, but you got to make use of the networking section. So, with that being said, hopefully next month when you come back, you'll have a deal to talk about that you have, or that you've closed on, or that you want to share some private money. So, with that being said, let's get into the gist of the main meeting. Let me just go ahead here. Just bear with me. And this is very, very exciting to me for many, many reasons. Lee, I'm going to give you over the screen now. I'm going to stop my share. And Lee, you want to put up your thing while I introduce you? Right. Let me put mine down. Just give me a second, guys. Just get Lee on board here. All righty. Okay, Lee's up there. So, just give you a little introduction here. So if you haven't read about Lee when you registered, Lee is a extremely qualified attorney. He's also what he likes to refer to as a personal trainer, trust, and will DIY sort of specialist for investors. He's going to teach tonight how to save thousands in legal fees, fully protect yourself, your family, and your business. What he's nationally recognized as an expert in financial and estate planning. He's licensed to practice law in the United States Supreme Court, the Federal Court of Claims, and the U.S. Federal Tax Court. So very, very well respected. He holds licenses in law, real estate, and insurance. So he really specializes in solving estate planning, asset protection, and tax problems. So Lee's a great speaker. I've known him for many, many years. I'm glad to have him back now. He's speaking again. and I'm just so happy that Lee, you came tonight to present. And Lee, I think if people wait to the end, you gave me an ebook to hand out to them also. Is that correct? I think Candy sent me an ebook that I could also send out, but
I thought we were going to give them the ebook when they registered, but
Oh, you know what I did. So I will, I'll make sure I'll put that into the chat bar,
That's
so they can get that.
no problem.
All right. Okay,
What's the
so
title of the ebook?
the ebook is, give me 1 second. I got to get
LLC mini course.
That's it. That's the LLC mini course.
Okay, it's about
Okay.
15 pages on how to use LLCs and what to do with them. They're really great tools.
Awesome. So Lee, I'm just going to turn it over to you then, and you've got it. You got control.
Okay. It's been a fair while since I've spoken with you guys. Actually, I kind of quit speaking for 7 years.
I get it.
Christy had a disease called ALS, so I took care of her for 5 years. And that's my wife. She died 4 years ago on September 9th. So, and then COVID came. And so it's been almost like 7, 8 years. Anyway, it's great to be with you. And what we're going to talk about for the next hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes is the tools that a lawyer has available to do the estate planning, the tax planning, the asset protection, all of this stuff. It all melts together after a little while. Before we get started, I need to take a little inventory with you for 2 seconds. And I'm going to try and find my screen again. I lost it. I did lose it. So let's set it up again. How does that sound? Don't you love this technology crap? Don't laugh at me. You got to remember I'm old. So this is all new language to me. Anyway, you can see that I take it. I need to take a little inventory with you for just a second to see what you've got. I mean, do you have a bank account? And I didn't ask if there's any money in it, okay? Do you have your own home? Do you own a home? Do you own real estate? In fact, do you have a little business? And that could be your real estate. If you've got a little business, you guys listen up. We're talking to you this evening. I guess I could ask how many of you'd like to get ahead financially a whole lot faster. And I bet that's all of you. Well, if I'm going to help you, you've got to do 4 or 5 things for yourselves today. First of all, you've got to protect yourselves against the disasters, the tragedies that take away your family's financial security. I'm going to give you the tools. You can do it, no problem, okay? Secondly, the major reason most of you aren't getting ahead financially quite as fast as you want to is you're probably paying too much in taxes. How many of you felt like you paid too much in tax on the last go around? And I like to see you raise your hands. And by the way, if you have a question, I don't know, Duncan, if they can break in and ask the question or how it's set up.
Well, they could write it in the chat bar, but if I think we wait to the end to answer all the questions, would that be okay?
That'd be okay. I don't read the chat bar usually.
I'll read it for you.
It's too distracting as I go along. But if you see a question that needs to be answered, break in and let me know, okay?
Okay, will do.
Anyway, there's just lots of things. Well, you've got a plan right now so that the death of a family member, the family doesn't lose a lot of time, money, property. You can do that, no problem. It's easy. You need to reposition yourselves in the law. So you can go out, you make more money than you'd ever thought possible. What we're going to talk about tonight is very subtle in many respects. You watch for it as we go along. But if you understand the law, you can go out, you can make more money, like I say, than you ever thought possible. Before we get started, if you're out here chasing your dreams under this windmill and your tail isn't covered, your tail's going to get shot off. But we don't whip out our 45s and blow each other away today. We whip out our lawyers and we sue each other to death. So you're going to have to learn to defend yourselves against that kind of an attack. Now, the kind of armor you see on the screen, that isn't going to do you any good. Lawyers, they fight their battles with paper. You're going to have to learn to defend yourselves with paper. But y'all remember the old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword? It's true. It's absolutely true. You write it down the way I show you how to write it down. You protect yourselves. You protect your property, no problem. But it does have to be written down. You're going to have to change the way you think a little bit. 20, 30 years ago, you had an ice accident out on your hometown freeway, 95, whatever it is. Your chance of being sued, 30, 40%. The day you have an ice accident out on the freeway, what's your chances of being sued? Well, that's about 85, 90. We're changing the way we deal with each other. The sheer fact of the matter is we're graduating so many lawyers today that in order to eat, these guys got to sue any that walks. So if you're walking around, that means you're a target today. Well, you get sued today. You can lose everything you own. That's a critical word. You watch for that word as we go along. You know you might get sued for something you do today, tomorrow, the next day. But what you may not understand is things you did 20 years ago. They didn't have any legal significance back then, but they now have a huge legal significance. Architects, engineers, doctors, accountants, these kind of guys have worried about something called deferred liability for a long time. The sad part is the general public, well, you guys don't even know what you have to worry about, let alone what you have to protect yourselves, protect your property. Let me identify with you first then. What are the disasters, the tragedies that take away your family's financial security? The lawsuit's the one we're alluding to, isn't it? The lawsuit comes in all forms, sizes, shapes, colors. I mean, is it possible today that you could do absolutely nothing wrong, lose everything you've worked your whole life for because of something your kid or your spouse or your business partner or somebody else does? Is that possible? Yeah. The Evans are neighbors. They're up in the bedroom middle of the night a few years back. Heard somebody downstairs. Mr. Evans, he gets his gun. He goes downstairs. Sure enough, there's this burglar down there. This guy's broken a window. And as he's coming through a broken window, he's cut his arm real bad and he's standing there bleeding. Mr. Evans holds the gun on him. Mrs. Evans calls sheriff. Sheriff comes, gets him, takes him to hospital, gets him patched up, throws him in jail. And about 3 weeks later, what happens? The Evans got sued by the burglar. Oh, no, you don't understand. They were supposed, this burglar is real professional, okay? They were supposed to call the ambulance, not the sheriff. And this professional burglar, he's got a nerve in his arm, and that makes his arm numb, and that hurts his profession, doesn't it? No, seriously though, the Evans, they weren't fabulously wealthy. They didn't understand that they were supposed to have a legal foundation to rest all their property on. Didn't understand. Supposed to have a legal shield out in front of their property, move their property out and around behind the shield so that when they get sued, there's nothing to take away. And if there's nothing to take away, how often are you going to get sued? Oh, I mean, they lost a lot of time. They lost $53,000 plus just defending the lawsuit. The legal system is the most powerful system we have in our nation today. You get sued, you're going to spend every dime you've got defending the lawsuit. Either that or you lose. That's the way the system's set up. Biggest mistake you're going to make tonight. In fact, biggest mistake you're going to make for your financial careers is to sit here and listen to me this evening and say, Phillips, he ain't talking to me. I don't have enough to worry about yet. If that's your attitude, I'll guarantee you'll never be wealthy. You can't build a house from the roof down. What have you got to have first? A foundation, a structure. The question is, why don't you have this legal foundation, this structure in place already? You didn't know about it. I'll buy that. And it's expensive. I know that. And in fact, when the Evans, are lawyers expensive these days? Yes or no? Yeah. When the Evans got sued by the burglar, they finally figured out their burglar was cheaper than their lawyer. So they paid the burglar guy and he went away. You pay the lawyer guy, keeps coming back to you. Ever notice that? Now look, client's dying here, and these two lawyers come stand on either side of the bed. After a minute, these two lawyers standing on either side of the bed, they look down at the client who's dying, and they say, hey man, how come we're here? And the client looks back up at them and he says, well, I didn't live a very good life. I couldn't live like Christ. So I figured the least I could do is die like Christ in between two thieves. You'll get it in a minute, okay, guys? But the lawsuit, that's something that takes away your family's financial security. What other things do you face that take away your family's financial security? I mean, how many of you are married? That's a financial disaster, isn't it? No. It's the divorce. You've been through it, mom, dad. Hey, whoever's getting divorced in here this week, you listen up, okay? When we get to the part about the family limited partnership, you take good notes because you can control the financial outcome of the divorce very effectively with that legal tool. Now, you better look over and see if your spouse is taking good notes. If your spouse is taking good notes, you'd better be taking really good notes, okay? Actually, though, divorce is just another form of the lawsuit. That's all that one is. I've got lawsuits, divorce. What other financial disasters hit your security? Death? Is death a disaster, or is that just a natural state for half of you sitting out there this evening, huh? Family loses money two ways when somebody dies. Probate's what you pay the lawyer. Taxes are what you pay the government. They have nothing to do with each other. We're going to go right out and around both of them. So I've got death, divorce, tax. Oh, taxes. The IRS. Is the IRS a disaster? Oh, yeah, big time. You're going to spend more money paying taxes than you do your kids' college education, your mortgages, everything put together. Is the IRS a disaster? Big time. I mean, I'm going to teach you how to make an extra 5, 10, 15 grand. That's a little later in the speech, okay? What I want to talk about right now for a minute is where they reach up, they grab you by the leg, and they pull you all the way down under, and they drown you. Well, young man starts a business here. Business goes well for a couple of years. Then he receives a notice from the IRS that says, oh, by the way, 2 years over here before you start your business, you owe taxes. He hadn't even thought of his business. It's saying he owes taxes. He fights them off for a while. Then he misses one of the 10-day notices that the IRS is sending out. Goes down to the bank, writes out a check, and the banker says, hey, buddy, your check's no good. IRS closed your account 3 days ago. They'd come in, taking all the money they needed to out of the business accounts. But just to make sure they covered their tails, they took both the owner's personal savings accounts, seized both their homes. I worked on that case for a year. Poor people spent about $8,300 fighting the IRS. Finally, I found somebody in the IRS that said, gee, I guess we made a mistake. Could the IRS make a mistake? I mean, you know somebody the IRS has made a mistake on. I'll bet that. The $64,000 question is, what have you done to move your property out and around some sort of a legal shield so that when the IRS is barreling down the road at you, you're standing off over here behind this legal shield and you just watch the IRS go right on by. Just, well, how many of you like to protect yourselves from the IRS like that? Can you do that? Actually, you can't do that. You have to use these legal tools I'm going to give you this evening. But we use the tools, we set up the shield, the structure, and then we move things out and around behind it. And we can protect from the IRS. In fact, it's not only the IRS. You're going to deal with a lot of government agencies before you're through. EPA, OSHA, they're suing little businesses right and left. Statistically, you're going to put a family member in the rest home in the next 10 years. Family member goes in the rest home, 6, 8, 10 grand a month rest home bill. Now, use the tools I have here for you. Move your property out and around behind this shield now. Then when the family member goes in the rest home, the government will immediately start to pay that rest home bill. That just gave you an extra 6, 8, 10 grand a month in cash flow at that point. Can you do this? Yeah, you can. Well, actually, you can't. But these tools, these legal tools can, and you move it out and around behind the shield, protect it. The IRS, big deal. I've got death, divorce, taxes, lawsuits, other financial disasters. And by the way, when I say asset protection, your knee-jerk reaction is a lawsuit. No. 56% of all bankruptcies in the United States are a result of somebody in the family gets sick. The question is, are you going to lose your real estate? Are you going to lose your little business? Are you going to lose everything you've worked your whole life for because somebody in the family gets sick? Do you want to ask me about an illness? I know exactly how it works. In fact, I'm here for a couple of reasons tonight. One of the reasons is a number of years ago, one of the big time real estate investors in the United States, actually a lot of you'd recognize his name. He came in, he sat across the desk in my law office and says, Lee, I'd like to protect myself so that if I get sued, I don't lose everything I own. Would you like to protect yourself if I showed you how? So if you get sued, you don't lose it all? Or you get sick, you don't lose it all? Yeah, that's what we're doing. I put this legal foundation in place for this guy. Then I put a bunch of bells and whistles on it. And the guy paid me, this is like 35 years ago. The guy paid me $25,000 to do this. Today, in the big glass buildings, Boston downtown, $25,000, it'd be a good price for this basic foundation, this structure. Anyway, the guy paid me my money, goes away happy. 4 or 5 weeks later, he shows up sitting across the desk in my law office again. And I'm going, man, what does he want? He says, Lee, I've been thinking about this. This foundation, this legal structure that you talk about. People don't have this legal structure. That's why they don't get rich, isn't it? I said, yeah. He says, no. Lee, you don't understand. Even if they've got their corporation or their LLC or their trust or whatever it is, it doesn't do them any good. It doesn't protect them when they get sued. They don't make any more money. Lee, you go down, you pay the tens of thousands of dollars, you get the big ream of paper. It's expensive. I mean, it's confusing. Lee, could you teach people how to use these legal tools, how to set them up for themselves? You can do that, no problem. It's easy. And then how to use these legal tools to make money, protect assets. I said, yeah, I can do that. So I started to speak and I started to write. But I'm here for another reason. Something else drives me. You see, I understand you. I understand each one of you. I understand when you have a little business. I understand when it goes well. I understand when it fails. I understand when the IRS sees your assets, somebody's sick, somebody dies, you get sued. There isn't anything here tonight that I'm going to talk about that I personally haven't been through. And because I've been through it, I can lead you out and around the problem a whole lot better than a lawyer who's never been there. You see, I'm not supposed to be an asset protection tax type lawyer. I never dreamed I'd be a counselor to the Supreme Court, U.S. federal tax attorney. I'm supposed to be a patent attorney. I have a bachelor's degree in geology, physics, master's degree in analytical nuclear chemistry, and a doctorate in law. I graduated from law school. I went out one of the highest paid lawyers. I went out and I worked for 3 weeks in the big time patent firm. And at the end of 3 weeks, 10 years of education was gone. Oh, I live in a nice area of the city, live up on a little hill. My block and the block next to us live 38 MDs. So they call this little hill Pill Hill, right? One Sunday, I figure I'm having chest pains. So my wife, she gets on the phone, Christy, and she calls up Mary. Now, Mary and Leland, they're good friends, live 4 or 5 houses down the hill. Leland happens to be the local cardiologist. So Christy gets a hold of Mary and says, hey, Mary, Lee's having chest pains. Could Leland look at him? And Mary says, sure, send him on down. So I went down to Leland's house that night and he looked at me there in the hall. And on the way out down the big entry hall, I remember he made a real strange statement. He says, you know, Lee, anytime somebody's seriously ill, they can go in the hospital, they can recover their health. They're extremely blessed. And I thought, yeah, Leland, I mean, you're the cardiologist. You deal with people who die all the time. I understand. And then he said, oh, by the way, Lee, I'd like you to check yourself in the hospital tomorrow. I'm going to have a bed ready for you. I want to run a test. So the next day, I'm strapped onto the x-ray machine. My wife, Christy, she's up in the control room behind the glass panel with all the radiologists. 3 of them live on our block, our street, good friends. And I noticed they take her out. Then one of my good friends, radiologist Gary, he comes and he stands alongside the x-ray table and he says, well, Lee, you're having chest pains. And I thought, well, good, then I'm not a hypochondriac, huh? He says, you've got a tumor. It's a little over 8 inches in diameter. It's around your left kidney. It's crowded up against your heart. Your heart's having a hard time. I said, well, Gary, can you take it out? And my friend Gary said, no, Lee. We'd never operate on you. We've done a CT scan on your entire body now. Lee, you have very advanced cancer. Your cancer now involves all the organs in your body. I said, Gary, what does that mean? My friend Gary stood there and he said, Lee, I expect to live another 2 to 3 weeks. And that ruins your day. I spent the next 5 months in an isolation intensive care unit at a university hospital. I didn't work for 3 years after that. Do you want to ask me what an illness does to a small, or actually at that time, a no financial fortune? I mean, I know exactly how it works. We're not talking I was just sick. We're talking this is a major battle. We're flying drugs from the East Coast to the West Coast on chartered airplanes in the middle of the night, full life support, the whole 10 yards. I mean, average cancer patient, 2-3 treating doctors. I had 53 treating doctors. We received bills from over 250 doctors. I mean, I don't even remember most of it. I do remember losing my hair, and I used to have more. Okay, guys. I remember I woke up in the middle of the night and was choking and spitting his hair, and it was all over the pillow. And I got the bed tray, and there was a little. I swung across the bed, and there was a little cosmetic drawer in it. I pulled this little cosmetic drawer out, and then I just literally took all my hair off and put it in the little drawer. And for the next few months, people would come into the hospital and they'd say, "Oh, Lee, you've lost your hair." And I'd say, "No, I haven't. It's right here in the drawer." Look, I took an inventory with you when we started. I wasn't asking stupid questions. You all said, you've got your bank account. You've got your piece of real estate investment property. You've got your house. You've got your little business. Now, you make a mistake in operating the little business, they're going to take it away from you. You make a mistake in buying a piece of real estate, they're going to take it away from you. If they don't get satisfaction here with the piece of real estate, can they come get your house too? Yes or no? Yeah. I mean, one mistake is all you're entitled to. And then it goes wham, 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 all the way around the circle and wipes you out. Y'all remember rich kid in your high school class? There was a rich kid in every one of your high school classes. This kid went out of high school, showed up 3 or 4 years later, operating dad's big business. And you're going, man, how can he do that? I'm smarter than he is. As a matter of fact, you probably are smarter than he is. The catch is he's born into a family that already has this legal foundation, this structure. Kid makes a mistake, whoa, falls back down onto the structure. Doesn't go wham, 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 all the way around the circle and wipe him out. What hurts? Hurts right here in this corner. But this corner is legally protected from this corner, shielded from this corner. Everything isn't all held together like this. This is how you all own your property on the screen there. Look, if you're going to understand how to protect yourself, how to protect your property, there are 6 or 7 things that we need to do in order to give you these legal tools and make sure that you use them. Should we go through those things? Yes or no? Okay, let's do it. The first legal point I want to talk about is something called a general partnership. Now, if we were in a live audience, I'd ask and say, how many of you are in a general partnership? 2 or 3 of you'd raise your hand. You don't want to be in a general partnership because in the general partnership, each one of the partners is jointly and severably liable. That means you're legally responsible for what the other guy is doing. Never place yourselves in a position where you're legally responsible for what the other guy is doing. Now, the problem is there are just 1 or 2 of you in a general partnership. 60% of you are in a general partnership. I know that. It's the only legal relationship that you can be in with somebody and not have a written piece of paper. I got a partnership agreement for you. It's the last one in the accumulation preservation of wealth set in the business planning section. Let me show you how this system works for 2 seconds. This is the accumulation preservation of wealth set. I have all of the documents that I use in my law office for business type stuff. Then I have all of the documents that I use for personal type stuff. And these are the legal documents that I use. Now, you go downtown, any big building downtown Boston, and they're going to charge you anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000, and they're going to give you just one of these pieces of paper. And the funny thing is, it's going to look like this one. How do I know that? Because lawyers get together and we create what are called uniform acts. We have 160 some odd uniform acts now. Uniform Bankruptcy Act, Uniform Trust Act, Uniform LLC Act. That was actually the last big one, 2006. Uniform real estate contract. We've got these uniform acts, and then the states adopt the acts. Now, they put little differences in, that's okay. I go in and I sit you down and I talk to you. I'm not exactly a boring talker, am I? Well, don't answer that, okay? But I have 14 hours of audio instruction. And in here, I give you the differences in state, and all of that sort of stuff. So I teach you how to set up the documents, and you can do it easy. I even customize them for you, let you customize. And then I teach you how to use the documents to make the money, to protect the assets, so that you can go out, you can do this absolutely. And don't sweat it. I know I said there was 14 hours of audios. Well, in the personal planning section here, in the beginning of it, I have indexes to all 14 hours of audio. And you go in, you open it up, and you just go through the indexes, and you can see exactly what you want to listen to. So you go in and you listen to it. I mean, that saves you a ton of time. And if you've got more time, you can do whatever you want. I don't know what you want to do, but you can do whatever you want when you've got the time to do it. I was in, I'm a beach kind of guy. I admit that. I was in Honolulu years ago with Christy, and this guy comes running across Gaheel Street. And he runs up to us, and I'm going, what am I doing? Getting mugged? And he says, you're Lee Phillips, aren't you? And I said, yeah. He says, no. You don't understand. 6 or 7 years ago, I heard you speak, and I got all your materials, and I'm here in Honolulu, and my wife's over there. I never thought that I would be here with my wife. We were going to get divorced. Biggest problem was we didn't have enough money. So I started to implement the tax stuff that you talked about. We got a little more money. And everybody was nipping at my heels in my business, threatening to sue me. I started to implement the asset protection stuff, and they just all went away. And here I am. Christy was happy. We're all happy. These things allow you to do the things that you want to do. And I got off track there. We're talking about general partnerships. I told you, 60% of you are in a general partnership. No lawyer has ever brought you in, set you down across the desk and said, okay, here's definition for a general partnership. Let's see if you're in one. Let me give you the definition. And you think, what am I describing? 2 or more individuals engaging in a common activity. What did I just describe? No, it's not marriage. There's a third part to it, okay? 2 or more individuals engage common activity with the intent to make money. I mean, how many of you got married to make money? Never mind, that's a bad question. Don't answer that. Particularly if your spouse is there, okay, Monica? You don't want to do that. But who are you doing your deal with? Your son? I mean, you're doing the rehab. He's on his way to Home Depot to get the stuff, and he hits a kid in the crosswalk. You're the one that's going to be sued. You're the one that's got the money, and they're going to get you because you are a partner with your son in this deal. Who are you doing something with where you might make money? That's called a general partnership, and you're 100% liable. You stay out of the general partnerships. They're a huge hole in this legal foundation, this structure that I talk about. I mean, you're smart, but nobody's ever showed you where these holes are. I go in on the audios on the thumb drive here. And by the way, everything's in the cloud too. You can access it on your phone. You can do whatever you want, okay? But I go in and I sit you down and I show you the holes for the retirees, the business, little business guys, the real estate investors. I show you where the holes are, and then you can just walk right out and around them. I mean, lots of people, they go through life, they fall into one of these legal traps. They're paying the lawyer, they're getting out of trouble. They go a little further, they fall into another legal trap, they're paying the lawyer. You don't have to do that. Once you know where you're smart, but nobody's ever told you where the hole is. The rich people, they don't spend all their money getting out of trouble. They spend their money going ahead financially. You can do that too, no problem. You just got to know what to do. The next point I want to talk about is something called a limited partnership.
Excuse me, Lee. I'm just interrupting you just for a second.
No problem.
We've got a great question from Brianna.
Okay, Brianna, go.
Yeah, she asked if you work with a property management company, is that a general partnership?
Probably not, because in the contract that you made out with the property management company, it said in there, and I'll be willing to bet on it, that you are not partners with them. And they're managing property for other people. We're going to talk right near the end about independent contractors. They're going to be an independent contractor. If it's set up properly, they're independent of you. They have nothing to do with you. You have nothing to do with them. You're two separate entities. Does that help? So you're welcome to ask the questions. And by the way, you guys do know how to ask the questions. You press the space bar down, unless you're muted. Kelly, have you got them muted? Who's our master?
Correct. Well, Duncan has everybody muted, but down at the bottom of the bar, there's a little emoji that shows raise hand, and that's how I do it.
Okay, raise hand, whatever you want, but we can take some questions as we go along. Duncan's here. He's really mean. He's got me on a time schedule, so you got to unmute yourself if you're gonna defend yourself, Duncan. You got to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, my daughter was on the phone because she's flying in for this cruise with me. So yeah, I was like, oh, I gotta pick up. So yeah, all right. So unmute. Kelly's a co-host, so she can unmute people too.
Okay. Anyway,
there also.
Limited partnerships are very different than general partnerships, because in the limited partnership, the limited partners are only liable to lose up to the amount that they invest in the deal. Now, a limited partnership is really actually a pretty good legal structure. It makes part of this foundation, and it's pretty cool. If you're in a limited partnership, my question is to you, and it's in the business planning section, not the personal planning section. My question is to you, have you ever been down to the recorder's office? There's your general partnership, by the way. Have you ever been down to the recorder's office and seen on file what we call a certificate of limited partnership interest? It's just a little 1-2 page typewritten piece of paper. Well, what this piece of paper says is you put your $10,000 in, you're a limited partner. The maximum you can lose is your $10,000. Now, this has to be done for you. That's got to be on file publicly, telling everybody that you're only liable for 10 grand. That's got to be there. 6 or 7 other things that I teach you about in the audio CDs. Oh, audio CDs. For years, I had audio CDs. I'm sorry. We don't got CDs no more. But on the audio instructions, I told you I was old, didn't I? I mean, senile, you know, the whole 9 yards. But shut up, Kelly.
I actually have a CD in front of me. I bought music today. I'm like, oh, how am I going to play this thing?
I know. You don't even have a player for them anymore.
No.
But at any rate, I teach you these things that have got to be done for you in order to qualify you as a limited partner. Okay, here we go. Boom, the deal blows up. We know you put your $10,000 in. Your name's not on the list down there as a limited partner. What you got to be? A general partner. At that point, you don't lose your $10,000. You lose $250,000 because that's your share of this deal, not as a limited partner, but as a general partner. Now, here's the problem. Can you always trust the lawyers and the promoters and the CPA guys and all these guys to do everything they're supposed to do for you? Not likely. My wife, Christy, she has 2 aunts in town. I call them Ding and Dong. And oh yeah, they are. They run one of these little restaurant things in the middle of the mall where they hand you the hot dog as you walk by. They call me up 3 or 4 weeks before tax season. They say, hey, Lee, our accountant says we can't do this, this, and this. Now, I know the law. If you know the law, can you make money? Yeah, I made them an extra $9,468 that year. What do you do with your accountant at that point? Firing. The point of the matter is, you may not have to know how to fill out your own tax return forms, but you darn well better know whether that guy is leading you down the primrose path or not. And the easiest profession in the world to lead somebody down the primrose path is the legal profession. We go to school for an extra 3 years to learn how to speak and write so you guys can understand us. Actually, it's not that funny. I've spent years writing all these pieces of paper for you in plain English. There aren't any here to, therefore, here with undersigns in here. When it talks about you, it calls you by your name. You got to know what the piece of paper says, or it's no good to you. Look, let me show you. Let me show you what we can do with a limited partnership. In the accumulation preservation wealth set, I've got all the legal documents, the pieces of paper. And by the way, all the pieces of paper are on the thumb drive here. They're all electronic. They're in Word format so that you can bring them up. And as you listen to me describe these documents, I'll tell you, now you can change this if you don't like that. And this is the way, and there's actually a paragraph in here for that alternative wording for that thing, that the way you want to address it. So you can customize them. But at any rate, you've got the limited partnership. In here, it's a family limited partnership. That's a special type of limited partnership where the family members become the limited partners. That's the one you're probably going to use. So I teach you step by step how to set it up. Let's say you've got a piece of real estate, investment real estate. Now, any one of you can do this. You don't need the real estate. We can do it with stocks, bonds, business equipment. You don't need a business. Any one of you can use this. Right now, you rent to the tenant. The tenant pays you the money. You put that money in your back pocket in your checking account. And on April 15, you pay tax on all the rent you collected through the last year. With whatever's left over after you pay the tax, then you can help out your family members. You can give your kids dance lessons, piano lessons, send them down to Orlando, Disney World. Mom and dad, getting a little older, slip them a little money on the side, help them out. I mean, do you help family members financially? Yeah, most of you do. But you're all paying Disney with an after-tax dollar. If you could pay Disney with a dollar that wasn't taxed as much, or a dollar that wasn't taxed at all, would you get ahead financially a little bit faster? Yes or no? Okay, let's do it. Don't have the tenant pay the money to you anymore. Have the tenant pay the money up to the family limited partnership. Now, Section 704E of the IRS code says that money comes up around through the partnership, and then it goes down to the child, the parent, whoever we want to support, and it's taxed at that lower level. It's not taxed to you anymore. This is called shifting income. I have 13 techniques in the accumulation preservation wealth set to show you how to shift income. You can say it. It won't even hurt your teeth. Shifting income. Now, wait a minute. Your accountant has never told you about Section 704E or shifting income, has he or she? Why? It's really easy. They're going to keep their mouth shut. Because look, if they tell you to do the family limited partnership, okay, you go down to the lawyer. You pay the lawyer his $2,500, his $3,000, $5,000, whatever it is, to set up the legal documents. Now, you could do them yourself. You didn't have to go down there now. But you pay him, he's $5,000. He sets them up. The IRS changes the rules. Could they do away with 704E? Yeah, that's what we pay congressmen for, is to change their mind. I don't think they're going to do that. It's been around for 50 years. But if they make it so that you can't shift the income like you were supposed to, you paid the $5,000 at the lawyer's office, who are you going to be mad at? Not the lawyer, the accountant. He's going to get sued. He's going to be in trouble. He's learned to keep his mouth shut. If he takes the numbers that you give him, he puts them into the computer, spits out your taxes, zero liability in that. He's never going to be sued. So he isn't going to tell you these things. If you walk in and say, why don't we do this, this, and this, he's going to look at you and say, wow, you're smarter than you look. That's a good idea. I'll help you do it. But you thought of it, right? So you've got to think of it. You know, and the lawyers, they don't help you do it either. You did hear about the lawyer who had a farmer for a client. Now this is pretty sophisticated joke, okay, guys? So he goes out to the farm, and sure enough, it's early in the morning, the steamy's coming off the grass, and the farmer's out in the middle of the pasture, the cow pasture. So the lawyer in his three-piece suit, he jumps the fence and he starts trucking across the cow pasture. And he steps in this big pile. I mean, it's warm. It's still steaming. He looks down at his leg up to his ankle in this big pile. And he says, oh my gosh, I'm melting. That was the punchline, guys. You'll get it in a minute. Oh my gosh. Don't you have lawyers in Boston? I mean, aren't they full of it?
Yeah. I get it, Lee. I get it.
Thank you. Somebody, anyway. I love the lawyer jokes. At any rate, so you've got to decide this. Now, that's gonna, let's say you've got 4 kids. We're gonna move $4,000 of the rent up and around the circle, shift it to each one of the kids. Kid gets $4,000 this year in income. What do they have paying income taxes? Basically 0. So we've moved 4 times 4, because we got 4 kids or 3 kids and a grandparent or whatever. So we've moved $16,000 up and around this circle that you didn't pay tax on. And the kids, the parents, they don't pay any tax because they're not in the tax bracket. They need the money. So you saved the tax on $16,000. What did that give you extra to spend this year? You're in a 30% tax bracket, $5,000. You just made an additional $5,000. Did you work any harder to get that $5,000? Did you make any funny investments, risky stuff? No, we moved your money differently through the legal system. It's black and white letter law. Let's look at another aspect of it. Right now, you own that single family building. You own it. You own it. Your husband, wife, name, joint tenants. I don't know how you own it, but you own it. All right. Wham. You're in the accident out on the freeway. They sue you. They take away everything you own. They just got your building. You've been a little smarter than that. Use the accumulation preservation wealth set. Move your building up over to the family limited partnership. Now, tell me who owns it. Family limited partnership owns it. You don't own it anymore. By law, you control it. You can buy it, sell it, rent it, burn it down, do whatever you want with it, but technically you don't own it. All right. So, wham, you're in the accident out on the freeway. They sue you. Did they get your building this time? Yes or no? No. We just put a legal shield, a barrier all the way out and around that building and protected it from the accident out on the street. And when Dad died, he didn't own the building, so we got everything out of the estate. We saved the estate tax on it. So we get the estate tax protection, the lawsuit protection, extra $5,000, all out of a simple tool called a family limited partnership. Can you see where you might be able to use a family limited partnership as part of your foundation, your structure? I mean, this is critical, guys. When you go away, when you leave the house, you don't leave all the windows open, doors unlocked. You put security lights around your house. You do whatever you can to protect your assets, your property. But you haven't done anything to protect your property, your assets from some sort of a legal or financial attack. You just hope you don't get sued. You just hope you don't lose your identity. Actually, you've got a better chance today of losing your wealth, your assets to the legal or the financial attack than you do the common thief. I mean, using the accumulation preservation wealth set is like putting a deadbolt on your front door and protecting the assets from the legal, the financial attack. I mean, I can go on with this for days. In fact, I do. I run a boot camp. We do it 4 or 5 times a year. And you'd be welcome to come. We talk about the attorney's tools, the business entities, how to lower your adjusted gross income, your taxes. And by the way, When I said I take taxes seriously, in my office, I have the former head of the Western Division of the IRS. I have a former special agent, special auditor of the IRS. I've got a bunch of enrolled agents. The IRS is your major asset protection threat. I mean, they take 30%, 25%, 50% of everything you bring in the door. Isn't that an asset loss? You've got to understand how to use these legal tools to control the IRS. You can't control the IRS as an individual, but these legal tools we can use and get an advantage from the IRS out of them. So we talk about that in detail. The second day, we talk about real estate and taxes. Section 199A, most of you don't know what it is. If you know how to use it, you get 20% of your profit off the top. Real estate investors, small business people, business formalities. How do you use an LLC and stuff so you don't get sued? LLCs, ins and outs, taxes from the dark side. One of the IRS agents talks about how the IRS looks at you. And that's really actually interesting. Then we do LLCs, IRAs, offshore. Should I give you the offshore speech now?
Sure.
I can give it
You
to
have
you.
have a couple questions before you want to might do that offshore thing.
Let me do the offshore, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Here's the offshore. Hell no. Any other questions?
Yeah, why? Because offshore is something that's very appealing, even though it's very expensive.
It's expensive, it's appealing. The IRS, through the Patriot Act, shut it down. The federal government shut it down. You can't get any advantage out of it. If you're making money offshore, you can do that. We can do that.
So the Cook Island Trust, all that is
we go
gone.
through all of that for you. I studied it extensively in the 90s. I mean, I went to the Cook Islands. I went to the Isle of Man. I went to Guernsey and Jersey and Barbados. I went to everywhere and I studied it. And the answer is no and hell no. If you're making money offshore, fine, we'll keep it offshore. But if you're making money here, trying to take it offshore, you can't do it.
Gotcha.
I'll explain why. I can give you the tutorial, Duncan, later on if you want, but the answer is no.
Okay, good to know.
Any other? You said there were questions?
Yeah, there are. So from Monica Gonzalez, she asked,
Hi, Monica. I insulted you, so that's good.
Does the limited partnership have to have more than one person involved?
Yes, because there has to be limited partners and general partners.
Okay. And then from Deborah, if we currently have our homes, our names with mortgages in our names, will our lenders allow us to change to the LLC status or the FLP status without having to first pay off the mortgage?
Excellent question. The type of questions I address in detail, but I'll go for it now. The answer is, if you're moving to a living revocable trust, we'll talk about those later. The answer is they can't do anything to you. The Garn-St. Germain Act was passed 1981, and basically it implemented the due on sale clause. Anytime you transfer a property, the mortgage company can call the mortgage. Now, they haven't done that for 30 years because the mortgages have gone straight down. Mortgages are going up now. It'll be interesting to see if the mortgage companies start to try and wipe out all these 3% loans on their books. But if it's a living revocable trust, the Garn-St. Germain Act makes an exception for that. If you're moving the property, all the gurus say, oh, you got to move your property into an LLC. Well, okay, you move it into the LLC, that does trigger the due on sale clause. Now, this is the world according to Lee, okay? I don't think if you and your wife owned it, your husband owned it, if you and your husband and wife own the LLC in the same proportions, we just shift it over to the LLC. The banks are starting to say, or the insurance companies anyway, are starting to say, yeah, that's the same deal. We know what you're doing. You didn't really move the asset. Now, if it's got Freddie Fannie money in it, they came out 2 or 3 years ago and said, if it's in an LLC owned in the same way, we will not call a due on sale. So I don't think you're gonna have a problem, but technically you do. Okay.
So the next question comes from Brianna.
I don't want one from Brianna.
Okay, we'll skip it. How does a family limited partnership differ from an LLC?
The family limited partnership, I'm going to tell you 99% of the cases you're going to use the LLC today. The LLC, and we're going to get into these, guys, you're ahead of me. The LLC has the corporate shield that protects me from what happens in the company. The family limited partnership doesn't have the corporate shield. The general partner is always liable. The limited partners are liable up to what they put in. In an LLC, in theory, nobody's liable. So it is really important. The LLC, the family limited partnership, they both have what are called charging order protection. And I'm not going to go into that tonight, but they have a whole additional asset protection that corporations do not have. And it's critical. And your lawyers never talk to you about it. It protects the assets of the company from what happens to the owner. I mean, with Christie, my burn rate was $250,000 a year for 5 years. That would bankrupt most people. I had done the asset protection. I never missed a night's sleep because I knew I was safe even if I reached the end of my rope. All of my assets were protected. But it's critical that you understand that I have assets and I can get in trouble. My wife gets sick. I hit a kid in the crosswalk. The question is, can they get the assets in the family limited partnership or the LLC? The answer is no. Can they get the assets in the corporation? The answer is yes. The corporation is basically dead. If you've got a corporation, I will get down on my knees and I will beg you to change it to an LLC. It's not hard. It's one piece of paper at your state. I go through all of that. You file it. You don't need a lawyer. You can do it all. Okay. It's really easy. So, did that answer the question? You got another one?
I do, and it's for me because I want to preface this question with I saw it on a TikTok, so it's got to be true. So from what I understand,
Chinese propaganda. Don't worry about it, Duncan.
So from what I understand now, all LLCs, if they're owned by a trust, you have to declare up front who's not only the beneficiary but who's behind it. They're trying to shut trusts down. Is there any truth to that?
I don't believe there's any truth to that. In fact, I'm sure there isn't. They're trying to figure out who owns the LLCs and the corporations. And for example, you set up your corporation in Wyoming. The corporation, after the first year, has to disclose who the officers or directors and everybody else is. You thought it was private. So, any rate, we got to go. I got too much to cover. Okay.
Okay, moving on. I just want to mention though that you might be the next TikTok star for trust and wills out there. I'll just put that out there, correcting all the nonsense.
I don't know. I've got a really good YouTube channel.
There you go, guys. Check out his YouTube channel too.
I've got about 400 YouTube videos out. The next point I want to talk about is the corporations, the LLCs. And everybody gets their corporation, their LLC for this liability shield. Can't sue me. I got my corporation, my LLC. And actually, they make excellent liability shields. You've already got your corporation. A few of you did your own. You can do your own, no problem. I've got a full corporate kit here for you. We got all the articles of corporation, the bylaws, the organization meeting minutes, waivers, minutes, all the LLC member manager stuff. It doesn't matter. You can do them. It's easy. I teach you step by step how to do it. But most of you paid the lawyer, Boston, you're going to pay the guy $2,500. You pay him, he's $2,500 and he kisses you on both cheeks. And you go out of there going, wow, I got only paying this guy $2,500 and I show up, I didn't catch anything. You didn't hang around and have him explain to you. If you're going to have your corporation, your LLC, there are at least 16 things that you have to do every year under the law in order to maintain that corporation LLC. Now, nobody ever tells you that. The lawyer didn't tell it to you. You didn't hang around and have him explain it, even if he knows it. The internet sites don't tell it to you. Nobody teaches you about it. As a result, 95% of the corporations, LLCs in the United States are trash. They're not worth a piece of paper they're written on. When you get sued, they're always going to sue you and the corporation, the LLC. First thing you do is you get into court and you say, hey, judge, you can't sue me. Got to sue the corporation over there. See it? And the judge says, yeah, right, provided. Now, the judge literally has this list of 16 things. He starts down the list, file article of corporation. Yeah. Did you bylaws? I think so. I'm not sure I did that. No, I didn't do that. No. And as soon as you start to say, no, the judge looks at you and say, hey, look, buddy, you didn't do what the law requires you to do to have a corporation. I can't use the law to protect you. And he does what's called pierce the corporate veil. Wham. There you are, right back square one, naked as jaybird. Everybody's a general partner again. You lose your house, your dog, your cat, your kid, your car, everything you own. Now, you've already got your corporation, your LLC. You haven't been doing this stuff, have you? I go in on the audios and I teach you how to do it. I sit you down, I patiently teach you how to do it. Somebody's got to do that. You don't have to start over if you've got your corporation, LLC, and haven't been doing it. You don't backdate documents. That's called fraud. I want a commitment. How many of you will commit to me that you will set up your LLC, your corporation, do it right, and then maintain it, or go back and fix what you've already got? I mean, you better say yes, or I'm going to ring I'll come right through the computer and wring your little necks. You understand? It's not hard, but you've just got to understand how to do it. The corporations, the LLCs, they have your tax advantage. There's nothing you can do as an individual to control your taxes. The only thing you can do to control your taxes is contribute to a standard, not a Roth, a standard IRA. That's what we call above the line. Everything else that the financial dude talks to you about, your home mortgages, your contributions to charity, all of this stuff is below the line. It has nothing to do with your taxes, really. There are two things. One is your little company. The other one is your real estate. They're your tax shelters. But the guy's never brought you in, put his arm around you and said, you know, we need to teach you how to use your real estate. We need to teach you how to use your little company as a tax shelter. They've never done that. I've prepared a course for you called the Advanced Tax Tactics. 20 years ago, I went out on the internet to figure out how to lower my adjusted gross income. That's a critical word. 2 words. And you've got to understand how to lower your AGI. And so I went out, I looked, in all dead seriousness. The only thing I could find was adopt kids. You don't raise children as a tax deduction, guys. There's got to be a better reason. But I've developed 10 ways, 12 ways you can lower your AGI. I actually took a dentist a couple of years ago. He had $400,000 in earned income. I took him down to under $150,000 AGI. So I'm not talking about the $20 that the tax guys give you tax tips at the end of the year. No, we're talking about lowering your income by $50,000, $100,000. If I can lower your taxes 20%. That's not $20 or $200 out of $1,000. That's millions of dollars over your lifetime. You have no clue what taxes do to you. I'm not going to go into it tonight, but it's fascinating what actually happens when you pay your taxes. If you understood, you would rebel. You'd fight them every day. The advanced taxes is the name of the materials. It's a 100-page workbook, 5 hours of audio instruction, where I sit you down and I go through these 10, 12 techniques and teach you how to use it. Here's kind of a cutesy one, okay? Section 280AG, write it down. Your accountant will say, yep, absolutely right, no problem. Don't abuse it. I'm going to say don't abuse it either. 280AG says if you rent a residence, that's a place you can sleep and eat. If you rent a residence for no more than 14 days a year, you can't rent it 15. Any income that you receive is tax-free. Okay, how are you going to make money with that? Well, you go down to the Marriott and you see what it costs to get a conference room and feed lunch. Then you have your office meeting at your house, not at the Marriott, and you feed lunch. And you charge your company what the Marriott would have charged. The company will cut a check. They get a deduction for it, just like it was at the Marriott. Except that money comes to you tax-free. I have a house in Sundance, Utah. I have a house on Siesta Key in Florida. And Duncan, you're welcome to come down. And when Duncan and I sit there on the beach for 2 days, we're going to figure out ways to make money. I'll guarantee it. So I'm going to charge Duncan $2,000 a day to live in my house down there with me. Duncan ain't going to pay that, is he? You all know he's too damn cheap. Who's going to pay it? I am going to bill my company for entertaining Duncan at my house. They will cut a check for $4,000 that will come to me tax-free. Now, all the IRS can argue is, Lee, $2,000 a day is too much. Well, go down to the Hyatt down the street. It's $1,400 a day on the back of the door, and they don't feed you. So, you know, the most they can do is say, Lee, it's only $1,500 a day. But I've moved, if I do that 14 times, if I do it 10 times, 10 days, then at 2,000, that's $20,000 I took out on my little company tax-free. Could you have your real estate agent meet you at the house and charge your real estate company? Can you see how you're going to use it? So the next point I want to talk about, trusts. Lots of different types of trusts, revocable, irrevocable, charitable, offshore remainder, land trusts. Don't let that worry you. In fact, in the accumulation preservation of wealth set, I have 5 different types of trusts. Let me introduce a couple of them to you for just a minute. First one I want to talk about is something called the Children's Trust. This is the one the Kennedys and the Rockefellers and the Hearst and all them rich boys use. Could you use one too? Well, yeah. I mean, I've got all the documents. I teach you step by step how to set up your children's trust. Okay, now what we're going to do is set it up. You've got a business. I'm going to show you how to get your equipment out of the business into the trust. Then the trust is going to rent the equipment. They're going to rent it to you. Well, you got to have your equipment. If you were renting it from Ace Rents down the street, you'd pay the rent and you get a tax deduction. Well, pay the rent, you get a tax deduction, except in this case, the money goes to the children, the parent, whoever we've named as the beneficiaries of the trust. And they pay the tax right there at their level. This is shifting income. This is the second of the 13. This one's called a lease back. You're going to lease it back. You got to have a written lease. So I've got equipment leases and real estate leases and everything for you. But there's your extra $5,000 to spend again. Let's see if you're catching on. Can you get sued in your business? Yeah. They're always going to sue you and the business. They're going to get the equipment. You move the equipment up over into the trust and you rent it back. You go bankrupt. Business goes bankrupt. Can they get the equipment? Yes or no? No, they can't get the equipment. The most they can do is take over the lease and start paying the rent. So next week, the equipment's still sitting there. What can you do? You rent it again. You back in business. Also, the equipment is a major value in your company. We've moved it out. You die, you don't own the equipment. So we put a shield around the equipment, protected it, and we get it out of the estate. So we reduce the estate tax, we get the protection of your business, and we get an extra $5,000. All out of a simple tool called a children's trust. This is a tool that the rich people use. There are two sets of laws in the United States. One set that rich people uses and one set that everybody else uses. If you're going to be rich, which set of laws do you have to use? The rich set of laws. But wait a minute. Look, we just did something different than the lawyer has ever talked to you about. We protected your business in a disaster. They never talk about that. They talk about protecting you from what happens in the business, but they never talk about protecting the business from what happens to you. I have a good friend. The guy was my high school class president. He spent 40 years, he built a business, beautiful business. His boys are buying him out a little bit at a time. That's his retirement. And they're running the business. My friend actually happened to marry one of the best business structure lawyers in the state. And she years ago structured his business. My friend also buys real estate. My friend's very comfortable. He worries about security. You're comfortable. You worry about security. I understand that. And the problem is the lawyers never combine the business and the real estate. They treat them as two separate things. No, we've got to merge them. So my friend, he actually buys the drive-in theater down at the south end of town. It has a guard shack on it. A little better than that guard shack, okay? But this basically homeless couple come to him and they want to rent the guard shack. And they say, rent us the guard shack cheap. So he figures he's going to do him a favor. I mean, how many of you have been bit when you've been trying to do somebody a favor? I understand that. So anyway, his third-party management company writes up a lease and the couple move into the guard shack. In the meantime, the state comes along and says, no, time out. Can't live in guard shack. Only got one entrance. Get them out. So the third-party management company sends them an eviction notice. They don't get out. They stay there. They're literally smoking meth in bed, and they burn the place down. They get out. She goes back in for her purse. She doesn't make it back out. Her family has now sued my friend. They are going to take everything he has, including his business. The boys are going to lose their income, their way of life. It's a disaster. Now, wait a minute. His wife is one of the best business structure lawyers in the state. What happened? She used, and by the way, this would have happened exactly the same if the real estate had been in an LLC or a limited partnership or whatever. It's in the structure of the business. She didn't structure the business to protect the business from the real estate. So, I mean, I've met with them. I've talked to them. There's nothing I can do about it. Once the lady dies, everything locks down. You can't do it. If you can see the disaster, it's too late, guys. You're through. So I guess the question is, when you do this asset protection stuff? Yesterday. All right. Now, the trust you're all going to find first is something called a living revocable trust. It's called an AB trust, CB trust, family trust, loving trust. You do it for the people you love, and actually that's true. You do. What you're basically doing with it is you're avoiding probate. Can I go in, overview probate with you for a minute, and then come down and talk about the trust? Is that okay? Probate. Let's say your dad has an $800,000 estate. Dad's not rich. He's got this house and bank account, car, a couple of CDs down at the bank. All right. Your dad dies. You got to go to court. You got to prove that this is your dad's real will. You got to go to court. You got to prove your dad didn't owe anybody money. This whole process is called probate, and it's expensive. On average, 3% of gross in the United States. And Massachusetts, you're going to be probably a little higher than 3%. It's going to take you on the average. Well, if on an $800,000 estate, that means the lawyer's making $25,000. I mean, and it's going to take 1.5 years to go through the process. You want to get into your dad's CDs down at the bank before the year and a half's up? Fine. Go to court. Give me a special court order. Every time you go to court, who's faithfully standing by your side? Your lawyer. That's the guy, the way the guy's making he's 25,000, he's 50,000, he's 100,000, whatever it is. This is called probate. Would you like to avoid probate? And if you didn't say yes, you're an idiot. Probate's easy to avoid. All you have to do is know how to die. There are 5 ways that you can die. The good news is Duncan's got me on a short leash here. And I can't go through them with you. The problem is, though, you don't practice. You got to practice, okay? Let's just say you die with a trust. Fine. 1976. My father-in-law pays the equivalent to today's dollars of about $8,500 for a trust. He happened to get a good one. What's your chances of getting a good one? You ever heard of Fortune magazine? Fortune magazine runs an article on these trusts about once a year. This is the last page of one of those articles a couple of years ago. Let me read from it. Down the bottom, last 3 paragraphs. Another problem is finding an attorney with experience in living trusts. Apps. Now, Apps is a lawyer that writes a lot about these trusts. Apps says that only what percent? 1% of American lawyers know how to draw them properly. That's not a good statistic, guys. Not a good statistic. Now, wait a minute. I told you my father-in-law got a good trust, but when I looked at his trust in the early 80s, he'd spent his $8,500 on nothing. Why? Because the lawyer never taught him how to use the trust. Now, you got to know my father-in-law. He sat there, he argued with, no, Lee, the lawyer taught me how to use the trust. I know how to use the trust. No, they never teach you how to use the trust. It's a conflict of interest. Look, if they don't teach you how to use the trust, then they get the $8,500 for setting up the trust. And when you die, they get all of the probate too. It's a conflict of interest. They never teach you how to do it. You've got to understand how to do it. I go through for a couple of hours and sit you down and teach you how to use trusts. The trust got to be funded, for example. That means it has to own stocks, bonds, cars, house, boats. Only like 6, 8, 10% of them are ever funded. If they aren't funded, you're going to go through probate just like everybody else. Lady walks into me, sits at my desk April 15. That tell you anything? Husband's died that year. And they've been living in a rest home for years. There's no house, there's no cars, there's no nothing. All this lady has is $100,000 in treasury bonds. She's been to the local banker and lawyer, and the local banker and lawyer set her down and said, oh, lady, you don't want to go through probate with these bonds. You want a living revocable trust. So they gave her a very simple single living revocable trust. And then this banker and lawyer, they were brilliant. They said, okay, lady, trust has to own the bonds, has to be funded with the bonds. The way you get the trust to own the bonds is you sell the trust and you buy them back. What did they do? What did they do? 50 years of interest clocks. There's no tax.
Have a tax issue, yeah.
She paid $32,000 in income taxes that year. And there wasn't a thing I could do about it at that point. The idiot banker and lawyer, they didn't know. All you do is you take the form out of the set here, request for reissue of United States savings bonds / notes. You send them into the trustee and they change the name on the bond. I go in, I've got one here for you. I go in and I teach you step by step how to move each one of these things and do it. It's not hard, but you have to understand what to do and how to do it. Otherwise, you're going to get screwed. And it's just the way it's going to happen. Do any of you know this guy? If you're old, you might know him. Do you know him? Mark O'Harrelson. You ever heard of him, Duncan?
I have. I recognize him now. Yeah. It took me a second. Like,
He was the first real estate guru to speak on platform and to hold seminars. Mark came to me in the early 80s and he says, Lee, I want to protect myself so that if I get sued, I don't lose it all. I'm just going to cut it short. Mark has declared bankruptcy 4 or 5 times. We set it up so that he could bankrupt the company and it wouldn't hurt the other company, and he could go on. And today, Mark is probably the largest landowner on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. That's Mark. A couple of years ago, we ate lunch together. But he's long past me. I'm not his lawyer anymore. But he started out protecting his assets, and we worked our way into it. Right now, you get a great business idea. You're going, man, I do this, I retire, it's over with. In the back of your mind, you're going, yeah, man, but if this doesn't work out, I could lose everything I own. As a matter of fact, with everything all stacked up like dominoes, wham, 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 all the way around the circle, you lose everything you own. But if you've taken some of it off and put it behind this legal shield, then everything's not all at risk all at once anymore. The interesting thing is, I mean, if I show you how many you'd like to make it so it's not all at risk all at once. The interesting thing is, once you're protected like that, it's going to give you self-confidence. You can afford to do the deal. You're not going to lose everything. And the funny thing is, people will sense that self-confidence in you, and they will start to bring you ideas and opportunities. That's when you're in a position to go out and make money faster than you ever thought possible. Very subtle, but I've seen it happen over and over again. Well, you believe something, it begin to act a part. Ultimately, does it come to pass? Yeah. You can do anything you want. You can do your real estate, you can do your little business when you're properly protected. And you can protect your house. You can protect your property. No problems. I mean, look, let me show you where we're going to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build a basic foundation for you. And then we'll come back and put some bells and whistles on top of it, all right? So 4 or 5 things every one of you needs. You need a will. Now, if you've already got a will, the will's going to have to be rewritten because the will and the living revocable trust have to talk back and forth to each other. So, by the way, I've got a full will kit here for you. You can write your own will. It's a piece of cake. So the will and the trust go together, but you put those two together, you can eliminate estate taxes. We have not even talked about estate taxes. Massachusetts has estate tax. Is that right, Duncan, as I remember? And the trust will allow the husband to get one whack at it. What is it? It's like 2.5 million or something. Anyway, the husband can pass his 2.5 million and the wife can pass her 2.5 million. If you do not have the trust, you can't do that. The couple only gets one 2.5 million. So that's going to save you a ton right there. We can avoid probate. How many of you own property in more than one state, or know that mom and dad own property in more than one state? Do you realize there's a probate in each state? Either that or you bring it in under the living revocable trust, then we just avoid probate everywhere. Great management tool. Anything that you write down in this piece of paper goes. You don't need a lawyer to write it down for you. All you have to do is be able to write it so the next guy can understand it. Lady walks into me. She wants to leave $1 million to her cat. And I gulped real loud and I slid down under the table and I went, meow, meow. You want to leave $1 million to your cat? I don't care. You're one of my students. That means you're using the accumulation preservation wealth set. You get me on the phone, I'll give you the language for the $1 million cat. What we're going to do is we're going to make it so when you die, the cat gets the $1 million in a trust. And then when the cat dies, somebody else gets the $1 million. The only problem is your cat's not going to live too long after you die. It's going to be here, kitty, 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 meow. But that's okay. We can handle this. And the neat part about it is the trust is private. Nobody knows you left your $1 million to your cat. I'm actually curious, how many of you are a lot more concerned about your privacy today than you were 10 years ago. I mean, this is a big deal.
100%.
FTC's, what's that?
100%. You know, you got to lay so low and don't let anybody know you have money because they come after you. You know, anybody.
Yeah, but that's not that. That's just the you've got it, I deserve it, I'm entitled to it mentality. Identity theft. FTC says 15 million Americans are going to lose their identity this year. That means in the next decade, every one of you are going to have the opportunity. FTC says on average, it's going to cost you $3,000 out of your wallet. That's not what the merchants write off. That's your money. FTC says on average, it's going to take you 250 hours, 8 to 5 business. That's 6 weeks worth of your business time. I mean, how many real estate deals could you do in 6 weeks if you work full time? This is identity theft. Would you like to protect your identity? Christy, my wife, actually for a number of years sat on the Attorney General's task force for identity theft. And we've prepared a set for you called Winning the Identity Theft War. This is not a monitoring system. This is a how to prevent it. We teach you how to keep the low profile that Duncan was talking about. We teach you how to go in and do the police reports. Cops could care less about this. Unless you hand it to them on a silver platter, they ain't going to do anything. We teach you how to opt out, how to do the credit bureau stuff. We've got all the letters. As soon as your identity is taken, then time is of the essence. We have to get everything out. Everything is on a computer, electronic file for you so that you can generate all these letters and you can get them out. The problem is your identity's already gone. $100, any one of you. You give me your name and I'll either take your birthday or your address, one of those two. I'm going to be back in an hour. I'm going to have your social security number. I'm going to have your mother's maiden name. I'm going to have a chunk of your banking information. Can we do this? Yeah, it's easy. Your identity's already gone. Would you like to create a new identity? No, it's not what you think it is. Look, is an LLC an identity? Is a trust an identity? These are your new identities. Winning the identity theft war is how to protect your new identities. I mean, when I go to the doctor, the guy's already got my social security, right? But he ain't going to get the tax ID number for my LLC. You understand? We're making it so everything's not all at risk all at once anymore. It's not in the same pot. And it makes the identity theft a lot harder. And I teach you how to protect the new identity from exposure. So it's just the way you're going to have to think, guys. I'm sorry. The identity theft stuff is a big deal. By the way, Winning the Identity Theft War is a 100-page workbook and audio instructions and the computer stuff. It is not on disk anymore. It's in the cloud. You have instant access to it, okay? So the ID theft material is a big deal. Durable power. Haven't talked about it. This is you sign one, mom signs one, dad signs, everybody signs one, and then that document just sits over there in the filing cabinet. But what it says is whoever you name, that person has the legal right, the power, authority, stand in, take over, take charge, do whatever they have to on behalf of the family member. When the family member has an accident, gets sick, goes down, can't take care of themselves. This is a big deal, guys. And you have to have the piece of paper, but then the person doesn't have to go to court and be declared incompetent. Whoever they've named can instantly step in and handle everything. This is a big deal. Durable power of attorney. I'm just going to level with you. Okay, guys? It's like 40 pages of boilerplate crap that a lawyer puts together. And you can do it just fine. You just put your name and address and you pick who you want to be your agent. That's what they call them. So I teach you about durable powers of attorney and have everything for you. Oh, living will. Haven't talked about that either. You got me off track, Duncan. It's your fault. This is the directive to the medical profession. What do you do with me when I'm critically ill? Plug me in, unplug me, let me die? By the way, are there only old people in rest homes? You go look. These disasters, the death, divorce, tax, lawsuit, the illness, accident, they come to every one of you. The question is, what have you done to prepare for them now? On at least 2 occasions in the middle of the night, I'm dying of cancer in the university hospital. They would not say that I would live for a year. And then they only gave me a year's life expectancy. On at least 2, we by the way, we're 27 years old and we have 3 little children. On at least 2 occasions, they bring Christy to the hospital in the middle of the night. When they get her there, they don't take her to my room. They take her to the administrator's office. And they sit her down and they say, okay, this is the situation. Do we give up and let him die, or do we keep going? 27 years old. We've never discussed this before. Christy was alone when she made those decisions. By the way, I think she made the right decisions, okay? But since the Karen Quinlan case, Supreme Court of the United States says you got to have the written pieces of paper. So I've got all the pieces of paper on the audios. I sit you down and I teach you what you can do and what you can't do. You go home and you discuss it with your mom and dad and your family. And then you write the document. It's all on electronic format. You can generate it very easy. This is your basic foundation, your basic structure. You don't have this in place already. You didn't know about it. That's no excuse. You now know about it. And I understand it is expensive. These are national averages for the will, the living trust. Bottom line is you're going to spend about $5,000. You're going to spend that. Your mom and dad, they're going to spend it. Your brother and his wife, they're going to spend it. I mean, it goes all the way around the circle. I'm a copyright attorney. I know how to copyright things. The accumulation, preservation, of wealth set is copyrighted. But when you use it, I give you a license to use it up and down within your family. Because I understand this isn't something just his mom and dad needs to do. Her mom and dad needs to do it too. And the funny thing is, his mom and dad's trust looks about like her mom and dad's trust, looks about like your trust. Does the lawyer create a new piece of paper for everybody that walks in the door? No, it's what the law requires. The trusts all look about the same. So you can generate the trust for his mom and dad, her mom and dad, you. If you have a little business with a couple of employees, it's a disaster if one of the employees dies. So I give you permission, license, to use this within your business. You can't do these things for the employee, but you can give them the materials and let them do it, okay? So at any rate, here on the event this evening, this set is $19.99. All of the personal planning, all of the business planning documents, 14 hours of audio CDs, but this is just the basic foundation. Let me go back now, and I'm going to put some bells and whistles on it so that you understand how to fluff it out and how to make it really asset protection. We've got the limited liability company. I haven't gone into it in great detail. I've alluded to it. This is the tool that you're going to use. It's the most flexible tax tool. It's the most powerful asset protection tool that we have. Corporations, I don't care if you do a C or an S, doesn't matter to me. In fact, I'm very careful on the audios to give you the advantages and disadvantages of everything. Isn't it just as important that you know the disadvantages? Maybe more important than the advantages. I teach you how to go in and bargain with lawyers. Are lawyers' fees set? No. You ought to be able to save thousands, tens of thousands of dollars during your lifetime if you understand how to use the legal system. It's the most powerful system we have in our nation today. For Pete's sakes, figure out how to use it. I go in and I teach you how to tell if the lawyer's lying to you. How do you know if the lawyer's lying? Yeah, I know, his lips are moving. That's the easy part, Duncan. Here comes the hard part. Do you know what a good dead lawyer does? A good dead lawyer lies still. You'll get it in a minute, okay? But you got the C and the S. The partnership agreements, you're not going to be in the partnership. The limited partnership, we got an extra $5,000 because we shifted the rent up and around the circle, and we protected the building, the single family, from the lawsuit out on the street, and we got everything out of the estate. The Children's Trust, we got another $5,000. What did we protect with the Children's Trust? The equipment, the business. And we got all of that value out of the estate as well. Oh, I haven't talked to you about insurance. How many of you like to make it so your life insurance isn't subject to estate taxes, isn't subject to income taxes, and that can't be taken away from you if you get sued? The insurance trust is what you're going to use, and it's in the materials. You sign it, you notarize it. That's all it takes, guys. You don't go to your insurance guy. He'll just sell you more insurance, okay? Lease agreements. Oh, you guys are all doing real estate, right? My lease agreement in the accumulation, preservation, and wealth set is what I call my kitchen sink lease. It's got everything, including the kitchen sink in it. This is a reference set. Anytime you want to write a lease, fine, go to the shelf, take it off shelf, open it up. There's your lease. Now, the way you're going to use this is you've already got your lease. I understand that. You listen to me describe the sections of the lease, and you go through it and compare it to the lease that you already have. And you're going to pick a few of these pieces out and insert them in your lease so that you can beef up your asset protection, beef up your ability to go after the tenant, all of that sort of stuff. I mean, you come to my office, I'll charge you $1,000 to write that lease for you. In fact, I'll charge you $1,000 every time you come to the office to write the lease for you. Oh, independent contractors. I forgot. I've been really hurrying. I'm sorry, guys. I usually do 2 hours. Independent contractor. Never hire a guy as an independent contractor, as an employee, if you can get him as an independent contractor. The problem is, the first thing is you have to have a written agreement. No written agreement, presumption of law, the guy's your employee. You're liable. If you have the written agreement, and I've got about a 34-point checklist that we go through, if the guy can qualify as an independent contractor, he's in the accident, his problem. He pays the tax, his problem. This is Asset Protection 101 for every one of you doing small business or real estate. Single estate, single documents, just as important, but a single does this as a married. I've actually got a very nice set of single documents, all the trusts, the wills, everything for singles. And then we've got 3 or 4 or 5 different types of trusts for married couples. They're not in the printed materials, all of them, just one of them as an example, but they're all on the computer, on the electronic files, okay? So make sure that you go in and you study the electronic files and see what's there, because there's a lot more there than is in the printed materials. Oh, transfer forms. These are the forms that let you get stocks, bonds, cars, house, boats, everything over into the trust or into the LLC. And I go in and I teach you. The guy's telling you to put your piece of real estate in the LLC. Just do a quick claim deed. No, you do not do a quick claim deed. You do a warranty deed to move it into the LLC. You do a quick claim deed to move it into the living revocable trust. Big differences. So I go in and I show you how to move all of these things. And you've got to do it without triggering the tax. You take your single family and you put it into an LLC. What's the tax consequence?
Sell.
It's a sale or a gift. It's income to the LLC. You're required to pay income tax on that. Now, wait a minute. How do we do this? It's easy, guys. There are several ways that you can do it. But if I give IBM $100 in green, I want $100 in blue back, right? I want stock back. The IRS, what is it, 528 or whatever it is, says that that's a non-taxable transaction. I gave IBM $100. I got $100 in IBM back. Everybody's equal. No tax, no gain, no loss. So you have to follow these same rules when you put that piece of real estate into the LLC. And the gurus never tell you that. No. And yet, if you get audited, well, actually, it's when you get audited. The IRS has literally already hired 30,000 agents, new agents this year. They had 85,000 agents. Biden has funded 87 additional thousand agents. They're more than doubling the size of the IRS. The stated goal is to move audit risk from less than 1% to 10%. The stated goal is to get an extra $1 trillion out of audits. This is going to be a nightmare, guys. So I go in and I show you how to cut your chance of an audit. I mean, I've got all these IRS guys, special agent, special auditor. He knows how to audit. He knows what they're looking for. I can cut your chances of an audit 99%. You have to use the right legal tool, and you have to make it so that it complies with what the IRS wants. Okay. Total is, you use any of the rest of the materials in the accumulation preservation of wealth set, you're looking at easy $16,000 worth of legal fees. Actually, it's 16 plus the, you have over $21,000 worth of legal materials in the accumulation preservation of wealth set. All my legal documents, you can customize them. You put your name in them. You choose the paragraphs you want in them. You customize them, okay? And they're there for you. You can work with them. You can get the tax benefits. I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to do the asset protection. I mean, this is critical. 1985, this man comes to me and he says, Lee, I'm going to start a business. I want to make it so if it doesn't work out, my wife and my kids are protected. They don't lose it. They're not out on the street. I said, okay, we can do this. So I set up his business, and I set up a business for his wife. And we would take all the profit out of his business each year and move it over to the wife's business. I can tell you exactly where I was on, what was it? August 2nd, 1990. What happened? The Gulf War started. I was actually driving from Boston to Martha's Vineyard. I was doing work for this guy. And I remember listening to the war. This man had built a company, and in 1990, it was $150 million a year business. It was a direct marketing business. It was big time. And the war hit. We were all afraid. We'd never seen a war on TV. This man's business went from 600,000 miles an hour to zero in 48 hours. He lost everything. I mean, he owed the post office $2 million. He took down several printing companies. I mean, it was huge. There were so many lawsuits that the Attorney General actually consolidated them all. And my wife, Christy, became a lawyer also. She was actually in court. She was assisting the judge. And this case came. The first thing that happened in court, they named the dog, they named the kid, they named the wife, they named, the parking meter. They named everybody in this lawsuit. And the first thing that happened was the wife's attorney stood up and said, Your Honor, there is no allegation that wife did anything wrong. And the judge looked at the Attorney General's team and said, Well, boys. And they came back and said, No, Your Honor, we have no allegation the wife did anything wrong. The wife and her attorney stood up and walked out of court. Christie said there was an audible, there goes the money. We had moved tens of millions of dollars from his company to her company. This couple, they were in their mid-50s. They never worked again. The last time I saw them was in their penthouse on Kaanapali Beach in Maui. He had taken the time to protect his wife, his kids, everything he'd worked his life for. And it was enough that he just said, forget it. I'm not doing it anymore. I don't have to. So it's critical that you do it now. I received this letter a while ago from Yuma, Arizona. Last paragraph, Lee, your materials, that's the accumulation, preservation of wealth set. Your materials evaded me innumerable times. You don't just use it once, use it over and over. Your basic information, give me knowledge to influence transactions, stand tall with the legal profession on many occasions. When you know what the law is, you don't have to go in, cower down, and say, well, yes, sir, Mr. Lawyer, I guess that's the way it's going to be. You walk in and say, no, sir, Mr. Lawyer, it's going to be this way, and this way. Well, how many of you'd like to control your lawyer? My actions as a real estate broker and business consultant have been enlightened. I don't care what you do. Law touches everything you do. Lee, without the information and material, it would have been possible to accomplish what I want. Without this basic structure, this foundation in place, it will be impossible for you to build a large financial fortune. You can't build a financial fortune from the roof down. What do you got to have first? This foundation, this structure. And by the way, like I said, when you use the materials, other than the signature lines in here, no blanks. These are not fill in the blank forms. A fill in the blank form is no good to you. What happens is you put the thumb drive in, brings the living trust up on the screen. Now you're at the exact same place that I am with my secretaries when we start. So you listen to the audio instructions. I go through section 1, section 3 of the trust. Section 3, see that language in section 3, you leave that alone. That's what the IRS requires. Section 4, take section 4 out if you don't like it. Or I've done hundreds of these. So on the audios, I tell you, these are the 4 or 5 ways that my clients often want to change section 4. Could you change section 4 too then? Yes or no? You understand what I'm doing? I'm making it as easy as I can for you guys. You won't get it any easier than this. Let me review for you exactly what you've got. Here this evening, we've got the accumulation, preservation of wealth set. Personal planning, business planning. You can go out on the internet. It's $24.99. Here at the event, not $19.99. Now, the computer disc we sell separately. Actually, it only comes with the accumulation, preservation, wealth set, but there's an additional charge. Here at the event, that charge is not $4.99, it's $200. The identity theft material, $159. It's a companion set to the accumulation, preservation of wealth set also. It doesn't come separately. This is your new identity. Winning the identity theft war is how to protect your new identity. Now, I'm going to give you each a letter. I understand you're going to be talking to your buddy down the street, your CPA guy, your real estate guy. You have a question on this legal stuff. You call your local lawyer up, he's going to charge you. I'm going to charge you too. $575 an hour. And that's really, really cheap compared to Boston. Okay. However, you call, you identify yourself in my office. The way the letter tells you how to identify yourself, there is no charge. I am happy to answer your legal questions. Now I'm not answering your divorce questions. I'm answering your legal questions on this stuff, okay? If it's a tax question, I'm going to send you down to the tax guys. That's the deal. But I'm happy to answer the questions. I'm happy to get you back on track. I mean, in your financial careers, this is the most important investment you're going to make. Roy Stein, one of my students, this guy's an architect, builds a beautiful school. And then the school teachers in the school district started to have a war. And one day, the school teachers, they all call in sick. Superintendent says, what's the matter with you? The teachers say, well, the air conditioning in the school is making us sick. EPA, health department, everybody goes in. Nothing wrong with the air conditioning. Yet one night on the nightly news, they're interviewing the superintendent. He says, man, there's got to be something wrong with the air conditioning. Something wrong with the school. We're suing the architect. I got a call that night after the nightly news. Guess who's on the phone? No, it wasn't the architect. It was his wife. Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to lose all my savings? It was neat. At that point, I could say, no, look, you've called, you've asked questions. I know you've done this work. We've moved everything out and around behind this shield. They can't get to it, go back to bed. Well, when these disasters, death, divorce, tax, when you get sued, you don't sleep for 3 weeks unless you've done your homework in advance. And then you say, don't worry about it, go back to bed. You can't be like Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis, one of my friends, he was in a horrible accident. He was burnt very badly. He lived for 2 days after he was burnt. Whole 2-day period. Army lawyers in his hospital room. We had to go in. We had to try and move everything out and around behind the shield, protect it. We didn't make it, by the way. Family lost a lot of money. Oh, don't get me wrong. We saved a lot of money. But even more important than the money, look at that scene. All these lawyers in the hospital in the last 2 days, who's supposed to be in the hospital room? Not a bunch of lawyers. Altogether, too often, I will literally spend the last 20 minutes with a man or a lady who's dying, trying to get them sign a piece of paper, because a piece of paper is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to their family. Either that or with the family out in the hall in the hospital trying to get something put together. That's not the way it's supposed to be. When they walk in, stand alongside the x-ray table and say, oh, you've only got 2 to 3 weeks to live. You never ask this question. Could I do another real estate fixer-upper? You do ask yourself certain questions of that. In fact, subconsciously, you ask yourselves these questions all the time. Ask yourself right now, do I have a will? Does it do what it's supposed to do for me? Do I have a living revocable trust? Going to eliminate Massachusetts taxes, eliminate probate? Am I in a position where I have the legal tools and the accumulation preservation well set? I know how to use them for taxes. I can give my family an extra 5, 10, 15 grand this year. No more work, no risk. Ask this, if I were to have an accident today on the way home, my business were to have a problem, my tenant were to sue me, is my family going to lose a lot of what I've worked my whole life to give them? These are the questions you ask yourself. Ask yourself 2 more. Can I afford to wait any longer to do this work? Can my family afford to have me wait any longer? And the answer is no. I really do want to work with each one of you. Here this evening, I'm going to make the entire package, $2,300 available to each one of you. We're going to make the accumulation preservation well set, the computer forms, the identity theft material, the telephone support. And by the way, that's only available to the people who pick up the set immediately. I'm going to limit the number of people I deal with. So that's only available to the people who pick up the set immediately. It's not $23.58. Total price tonight, $14.99. Now, I'm going to help you make it so it's tax deductible. And if you're in a 30% tax bracket, that means the IRS is going to help you with $500 worth. So effective cost, $9.99. Oh, I forgot. Duncan asked me if I would give you a $500 certificate to attend the 2-day boot camp. Would you like that? That is not on the screen. That's not something that I normally give to folks, but I will give you a $500 certificate towards the tuition of the 2-day boot camp. So that's not showing up there, but actually if you have the $500 certificate and you use it and you get the tax deduction, your effective cost is basically $4.99. And for those of you who pick up the materials in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you the advanced tax tactics. That's $7.99. You go out on the internet and look at it. That's what it sells for. That will allow you to cut your adjusted gross income. You will save thousands of dollars in taxes every year. I can guarantee that. So total package, $14.99. You get the bonus in the next 15 minutes. You get the letter in the next 15 minutes. And we make everything tax deductible to you. So I can, by the way you get it, I guess I should tell you, is you go to Legalese. That's a pun on my name, by the way. Legalese.com/Boston. You don't have to cap anything. It's not case sensitive. It'll bring up the description of all of the materials. You'll put it up in the top right-hand corner. You'll put it in the shopping cart. Just put one of them, okay? And then you click checkout, and it will take you. You will put your credit card information and stuff in. And then, I don't like this, but it says business address or delivery address, shipping address. By the way, we're going to ship everything to you in a box. All the accumulation, preservation, wealth set, personal planning, business planning, the thumb drive, and the other 2, the identity theft materials and the advanced tax tactics, will be electronic delivery to you. But we'll ship it to you on the checkout page. You have to uncheck delivery address if it's the same as the address for the credit card. Okay. So it will send you an email immediately that says we've received your order. So you'll know if it goes through. Duncan, I can answer questions.
I do have some questions.
$14.99 is,
I think it's
I can do that.
great price.
That's a killer price for you.
Yeah, you know, having gone through an audit, having gone through paying an attorney to represent me during the audit, being sued twice, and you know, coming out unscathed, still has some, you know, lawyers fee to pay, but it's just critical. I mean, people always talk about, you know, setting up their LLC, you know, and they kind of struggle with that. I'm like, I know paying a lawyer $750 an hour. This is a bargain.
Yeah,
It's an
when I
incredible.
say my fee's 575, that's nothing compared to Boston.
Yeah, I'm quoting 750 because, you know, I know that. So, and
I
they get
actually have a
for
nephew
everything.
back. I have a nephew back there that's a lawyer. He's $2,000 an hour.
You know what gets me? They charge you for these things called petties. Like, you mean you charge me for a paper clip? You gotta be,
Absolutely.
you know, they're
Don't get into that. Actually, my grandson went to school this fall, and the teacher says, "What does your grandpa do?" And he says, "Well, he's a lawyer." And the teacher says, "Honest?" And my grandson said, "No, he's just a regular one." You'll get it in a minute, guys.
So let's get on with some of these questions. And this is from James. If you are collecting SSDI benefits and have a joint LLC with your spouse, can you receive income from real estate transaction under the LLC and not affect the SSDI benefits?
Well, you're going to affect the disability benefits because you and your wife are considered one unit for tax purposes. If the LLC were in your wife's name, you had nothing to do with it. She paid, she filed separately from you, no joint returns. You might be able to do something, but Social Security's mean. They have big teeth, guys.
Yeah. All
I
right. So
would say no.
okay. So the
don't try
next
it.
question is, can a property be under an LLC that's been set up in a different state? An example, a property owned in New England and the LLC set up in Florida.
The answer is no. Yes, it can own the New England piece of property. Everybody sets it up in Wyoming. And then they buy the New England piece of property and try and put it in the Wyoming LLC. Well, you can do that. You can make out a deed. You're going to use a warranty deed, right? You can make out a deed to the Wyoming LLC and transfer it in. The problem is the piece of property is in New England. It's in Baltimore. And in order to have any rights in Massachusetts, you have to register the Florida LLC or the Wyoming LLC in Massachusetts. When you register in Massachusetts, then you have rights. If I'm the tenant in that building and I figure out that it's owned by a Wyoming LLC, I'm going to stop paying the rent. There's nothing you can do to me, buddy.
Oh, interesting. And
But
is that
one
just
more
doing
thing.
a DBA?
No, you can't have a DBA. The damn thing's got to be registered in the state where the property is or the state where you're doing business. And the second you put that registration into Massachusetts, you become subject to all of Massachusetts laws. Every state has a law that says that.
Mhm.
So exactly why did you do Wyoming? You can't give me a reason.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because they all say go to Wyoming or Delaware, and you know then you're
But
protected
you
by
know
privacy.
why? Because these guys that are setting them up, they charge you $500, $600, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, whatever it is to set it up. And then they get $200 a year to be the registered agent. And do you know what a registered agent does? Zero.
Zero.
If I can get 1,000 people paying me $200 a year to do zero, that's a good business.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next question is, do LLCs go through probate?
Yes, they are an asset of yours. You have to sign your name to transfer them. You're going to make your living revocable trust the member, the owner of the LLC. Now, you got to have two owners in order to get this charging order protection, which protects the assets of the company from what happens to the owners. So we're going to have two members, two owners. One will be the trust. I can have his trust and her trust, or one will be yours and husband's wife trust, and maybe the kid as a 5%er or something. But I need two members.
Awesome. So, I just, I think that's our last question there. If you type it in, again, I'm just going to reiterate, I did look at the offshore trust, probably about 4 years ago, and just to do that, which you say is no longer valid, that was $25,000. To have an attorney set up just the limited liability partnership or family partnership, that's $8,000. So, like I said, what you guys are getting tonight is a great deal. It is a resource. It is very important. And I'm speaking from experience.
Well, even if you've got your LLC or your limited partnership or your living trust or whatever it is, this is going to teach you how to use it. And that's something they never did.
Right. So the link, you can click on it, is in the chat bar. He's put in some additional bonuses for you. So like I said, the effective price comes down to $499. That's a no-brainer. Again, another benefit by joining the REIA. If you want the REIA membership, the Kelly's number's on there, 864-906-4111. So Lee, I just want to thank you very much. It's good to see you back. I'm glad you're looking healthy.
I'm hanging ornery.
Awesome. And I hope, hey, maybe we'll see you on a cruise again, the next REIA cruise.
Okay, you enjoy this one. The REIA cruises fill up really fast, guys, if you're going on a REIA cruise.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, they're sold out within 2 weeks, usually.
Oh, they're sold out before they're announced.
Yeah, so this is a good one. This is Alaska. The next one's in February, so keep an eye open for that announcement, because cruises become a tax write-off also. Well, the majority of it. So
well, okay,
that's what I say. So I figure it out later on. No, give me your insight, Lee. Is that something we could do through?
The IRS has actually passed laws that say that unless all of the ports are in the United States, you can't write the cruise off.
Oh, really? Well, thank God this is an Alaskan cruise.
I was just going to say, at least it's Alaska then.
Yeah, this one will work. So write it off. Is anybody listening to me? How many people? We haven't got many people left.
No, we got 15 left.
Good.
Yeah, 15.
Here's the secret, guys. You go to jail if you don't report every damn dime. Then you expense everything you can. You push the envelope. You push it out of the park. The most they can do on a deduction or an expense is disallow it. So if you write off the cruise, the most they can do is say, you can't do that.
Right. At least you filed.
Yeah, you filed, you paid you reported all your income. Okay, I can't do the cruise. But they're not going to audit you every year.
Yeah. So Lee, just a question from what you're seeing out there. There are a few people who delay paying their taxes a couple years. What happens in that case now?
Well,
is there
supposed to be going after those guys hot and heavy.
Right.
We'll see. The 15 people who are left, let me give you the secrets, okay?
Okay.
Any one of the now 130,000 IRS agents can audit your 1040 with a Schedule C or a Schedule E. C is business, E is real estate, right? Any one of them. In order to audit a limited partnership or a general partnership or a subchapter S, that could be an LLC taxed under subchapter S, or a corporation taxed under subchapter S, or a chapter C. In order to audit one of those entities, they have to have a degree in accounting and they have to be trained at a cost of over $1 million to the IRS.
Wow.
That means less than 0.1% of the IRS agents can audit those entities. Read between the lines, guys.
All right. So you'll cover that in the advanced tax strategy tax.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So guys, I mean, Lee's told you some secrets in these last couple minutes remaining, so I think you can see the valuable resource. You know, Lee's an attorney, he's tax, and
Hey,
he's
don't hold that against me.
I know, but guys, you're getting a triple threat here in regards to solving these problems. So it's just not, you know, concentrating on one aspect.
Well,
So,
it's getting serious. They're weaponizing the IRS against us.
oh yeah, I can see that very, very easily.
And
I mean,
it's the middle class they're coming after.
yep, yep. Well, Lee, without any further ado, I'm going to, because we've gone over, and I don't want to hold anybody
You go eat dinner, I'll go eat dinner, and everybody in Boston go to sleep.
Okay, guys, click on that link. You have 15 minutes more to get that discount. If you have any questions, Lee, would they just get a hold of you if they had any additional questions to your website or your YouTube channel, or how would they get hold of you?
When they get the materials, they obviously have the phone numbers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, just do that.
Okay.
I do answer questions on the YouTube videos associated with specific videos.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll send you some nice pictures from our REIA cruise.
Yeah, shut up.
Hey, Lee, all the best, man. It was really good to see you again.
Good to see you, Duncan.
You too. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.